Hi guys, I'm sorry. Don't get angry. Don't be mad. Don't be mad at me. Shira, what is this? You're back? I'm back. A little explanation of where I was around the time that I stopped last season was around the time that I was doing art, applications, for art school, and it was like a whole story. There was entrance exams, and there were interviews. It was just like a whole long thing, and I couldn't keep this going. And then the summer happened, and I went to America, and I went to my fair share of concerts and festivals and yada yada. But I didn't really have a base, so to speak, to film these. And in addition to that, I actually was working on my own side project, or really this is my side project, but I was working on a project with a friend. I created my own website. So a lot of you viewers from Free the Ripple are going to be very confused, but this was my original project. And feel free to go back on my old videos and see what's been happening. So I'm finishing up week number 6 in art school. Yes, I got accepted. And I'm like thinking to myself, I have to figure this out. I have to bring this up again, because since things are finally settled, I have no good excuse. This season, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, and instead of talking about albums, I'm going to be talking about artists themselves. The first artist I'm going to be speaking about is Simon Posford. About a month ago, Simon Posford came to Israel for his birthday, Halloween, and he threw down an amazing set here in Tel Aviv, 3-hour set using 3 of his projects. So the reason why I'm choosing Simon Posford, even though since then I've seen a bunch of artists here in Israel, is because my experience with Simon Posford here in Israel or Europe is completely different than my experience of Simon Posford in America. So to understand the difference, first let's talk about his projects. Project number 1, Younger Brother. Younger Brother is a psychedelic rock project. It's between him and his friend Benji, and it's exactly what it is, psychedelic rock. Recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the electronic version of my favorite album came out, which is Vaccine. So I suggest in this whole entire video to go check out his electronic version of Vaccine versus the acoustic version, and then you'll understand what psychedelic rock really is. Psychedelic rock also can be attributed to many other jam bands. There are a bunch of artists performing on these songs. Joe Russo is one of them. He lays down some drums on tracks. Younger Brother is probably my favorite. Number 2, Shpangle. Shpangle is a side project between him and his friend Raja Ram. Raja Ram is this huge persona in the psychedelic community. Not persona, this huge persona. Raja Ram and Simon Posford teamed up together to create Shpangle. Shpangle is by far Simon Posford's most famous project. Super psychedelic, super trancy. Now, this is a concept that I had to explain, and it's kind of hard to understand, but I'm going to try to explain it to you guys now. Shpangle is psychedelic psytrance. What, Shira? Isn't psytrance psychedelic, in the name? But it's not, unfortunately. What? I don't understand. Let me explain. Psychedelic and trance don't always mean psytrance. Psytrance is a good way to describe a certain genre of music, of trance specifically, using BPMs. And it's relatively high BPMs. It's about 140 to 180. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's psychedelic. A good example of psytrance that's not necessarily psychedelic, and people are going to disagree with me on this, is Goa trance. Goa trance is super fast, and though it puts you in a trance, because that's what trance music does, it's not considered psychedelic psytrance. Now, the reason why psychedelic psytrance is psychedelic is because every measure, something new is introduced to the music. And this is where Shpangle exceeds. And this is where Shpangle puts its foot down and is like, I'm the fucking king of psychedelic psytrance. Because every measure, Simon Posford is fucking with your brain. He's adding completely different elements, he's adding new instruments, and every single measure, that's like every 8 count, he's bringing something new in. And because it's psytrance, it's very fast, and in order to accomplish this in psytrance, that's a whole other ball game. Let's talk about dubstep, or like old school dubstep drum and bass, where every measure something new is introduced, but it's nowhere near as fast as psytrance is. This is why Simon Posford is considered a master in music, because his success with Schwangel really accentuates the fact of how good he can really manipulate the music. Third project that he has is Hallucinogen, which is just him alone, and that is purely psychedelic. It's not defined by anything else, just psychedelic. So Simon Posford, from what we understand, is a super psychedelic person, but does he do psychedelics on stage? No, sillies, he doesn't. Why? Because it's so complex what he's doing up there. Simon Posford is a good name for DJs, because what I'm trying to break here is the stereotype that DJs are up there doing nothing. But Simon Posford is up there manipulating 5 different songs with 20 different elements each, and he's playing all of that for like 20 minutes before he goes on to something else. Like, that's talent, to be able to juggle music like that. And it's not like every 20 minutes you can take it apart and you can say, this is a 20-minute section of his set, and this is another 20-minute section. They overlap. The 20-minute sections overlap. So he's talented, and he's a genius. This is where I'm going to be talking about the difference between seeing Simon Posford in America versus Israel or Europe. My experience seeing Simon Posford in America is more psychedelic based. More, let me see what I can throw at you to fuck with you, you know? And because that's what the American culture loves to see. Unfortunately though, that's not real Simon Posford. I got to experience the real Simon Posford here in Tel Aviv. It's Simon Posford Schwangel, where he's just solely into his music. His concentration is through the roof. He isn't there to show you a good time, he's there to show himself a good time, and in that way, we get a great time. He played more psytrance here in Israel than he did in America, and I'm assuming also in Europe that's what he does. And though I'm not personally a fan of psytrance, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. He put on a performance. So to summarize, if you have a chance to see Simon Posford outside of America, take it. Simon Posford comes very often to America, specifically with Schwangel, and I've seen him many times, but none of the times that I've seen Schwangel compared to when I saw him here in Israel. However, here in Israel, he doesn't play with a live band. It's too out of the way. In America, sometimes he will. Every once in a while, he'll play with a live band. That's a totally different ball game, because this is where the transfusion between like electronic music and like instruments, that's where they start like crushing boundaries. And Simon Posford does a great job at this, and if you see him with a live band, you'll understand why. Because here he is as a DJ controlling everything, except he has a live band he's controlling, and they're doing what he wants, but he's doing what they want, and they're working together. And here you see that a DJ set can be used as an instrument. So Simon Posford, thank you, because you give us a good name in the musical community, and that's all I have to say. So, bye guys!